So now that we know how to make ads and you got your Spielberg-esque ads that you made for whatever product you're about to sell, we need to get TikTok set up. So in this video, we're going to cover how to set up TikTok, how to test your first product on there, how to set up your columns, and also how to scale as well. So let's get through the nitty gritty. So to set up TikTok, it's fairly simple. All you have to do is go to the Shopify App Store, look up TikTok, and then once you install it, it will show up as a sales channel. So you click on sales channel, then TikTok. And really, when you're going to the setup process, it's pretty simple. It asks you to create a new business. So you either log into an account that you already made, if you already have an agency account, which if you are interested in getting an agency account where you can target every single country in the world compared to a ad account that might just be specific for your country that you're from, then you can actually click the link down below and get an agency account for 3% of your ad spend. I mean, as you can see, Daddy Ethan's been reaching in the cookie jar for these ad accounts. I mean, I got like 1, 2, maybe 130 of them. So really, it's a great deal, especially at 3% ad spend. Most agency accounts will cost you at least $1,000 to $2,000. So if you're interested, link is in the bio. But after you get your agency account set up or your normal account, if you're a noob, then you can just log into it pretty simply. Now for me, since I'm already logged into TikTok ads, there is a chance it'll just ask you to connect, which is going to be the best option for you. Now, after this, it's going to ask you to connect an ad account to this Shopify store. So you can go with two different options. A, you create the new ads manager, or if you already have that ads manager ready to go, then you just connect the one that is your agency account. So for me, I might just do this Alto one. Let's say that's the agency account that I have made. So we just click connect, pretty easy to go. And the next thing would be your pixel. You always want to do maximum, get the broadest audience going on. And then for pixel, I usually like to create a new pixel when I start a new business. So just like that, we will click on confirm. And honestly, even having a pixel in your store, there's a lot of contention around that. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but that is how you set things up in Shopify. Now, the next thing I would recommend setting up before you launch your campaign is having those columns. You need to have your numbers ready to go on what you're going to analyze. Now, you don't need to have all these analytics. This is just personally what I like to have. So first off, I always like to do what's my total cost, how much am I spending, then my CPM. That's just really a good gauge for me to see, okay, are we spending in the right places? Because if my CPM is above a certain number, typically above $10 to $20, I usually think, all right, I need to go broader here, maybe try out some different locations. Maybe that could be what it is. I'm just doing the United States and my CPM's 30. So let me try the big 4 countries and see if that lowers. Next things are pretty self-explanatory. So how many clicks am I getting? Now, the total view content, the reason why I have this, I know most people don't, is because I can see from the amount of people that clicked, let's say 100 people click on my ad, I want to make sure I'm as close as 100 view contents as possible to the clicks, because I know if 100 people click my ad and let's say only 80 of them actually view content, which is viewing your product page, I know I have a speed score issue. So it's a nice little gut check to see, all right, is my website converting well? So that's personally why I like to have it. You may not have it. It's up to you. Now, the next thing, CPC, pretty self-explanatory. CPC, CTR, these are both for my ads. So for CPC, I tend to aim up 50 cents or lower. Honestly, because CPMs are a little bit higher now on TikTok, I would say anything under $1 is pretty decent. But the most important thing is always, are your ads profitable? So if I have a CPC that's above 50 cents, I'm not shooting myself. I'm not hitting the red panic button. I'm just saying, all right, that doesn't really matter too much. That's more of a secondary metric, but it's just something I like to analyze. Now, next thing, CTR, how many people are clicking through my ad? I mean, you get the gist. Now, add to carts, stuff like this. Again, it's just for my websites. I like to see how many people are adding to cart, conversions, CPA, all this stuff. And now the things that might be a little bit more foreign to people is the video views, 2-second video views. I mean, it's a very self-explanatory metric, but why do I actually have it? So for me personally, when I'm analyzing my ad, I don't just look at CTR. I like to look at a thing called hook rate and hold rate. Now, for your hook rate, that is how many people that actually start your ad watch the first 3 seconds. Now on TikTok, they don't have a 3-second video play option. It's just 2-second video plays, which kind of sucks. But when you're doing the calculations, I can see, all right, 22,000 people clicked on my ad to start watching, and about 9,000 of them actually watched the first 2 seconds. So for me, typically a good hook rate on TikTok is above 30%. So I would just basically divide these numbers, 9,000 divided by 22,000, and let's see if I'm above that metric. And as we can see right there, my hook rate is 43%. So if I can get almost nearly half of the people to watch the hook, that's a really, really good start for that ad. So I know my ads are doing really well in that hook section, but the next important metric is how many people that watch the hook are actually completing the ad. Because it's great if they watch the hook, but if they're not watching the rest of the ad and getting sold on the product, then there's an issue there, because typically your highest CTR is always going to be at the end of your ads in the call to action section. So how you actually come up with that number is typically video views at 100% divided by how many people watch the first 3 seconds. So here, 1,300 divided by 9,774. So let's just do the math. And that's about 13%. So for me, I don't really like my number to be, I would say, anywhere below 25% on TikTok. So I know clearly the hold rate is a bit of an issue. So I should probably keep the hooks that I'm already using, but then play around a bit with the second clip and the third clip. So the problem, the demonstration, the social proof. Clearly, I need some more engaging clips. Otherwise, people aren't going to watch the rest of the ad and click to my website. But I would say easily the most important metric of them all is my break-even CPA. How much does it cost for me to break even to acquire a customer? So let's say I sell a product for $25. It cost me $5. I have a $20 break-even CPA because if I have a customer that buys my product and I spend $20 to acquire them, I make no money. So for this, I always will look at each ad group when I am running ads and I'm like, all right, am I below this $20 CPA? Okay, here we go. 35, turn it off. 22, turn it off. $9, keep it on. $10, keep it on. So it's a pretty easy metric to analyze. And again, I mean, even if I have, let's say, a $10 CPA, which is great, let me scroll back down. Okay, my CTR, 0.6, that's not great. 0.7 for the cost per click. It's not ideal, but hey, we're still profitable, which is the most important thing. But maybe it might be good for me when I'm really trying to optimize things to play around with either the hook or the hold rate. So that's where you have those different metrics, because when you're playing around with different things in your ad, you have to understand, okay, where is the leakage? Is it in the opening hook or is it the hold rate? So the rest of the ad. So that's why I like to have those metrics when I am analyzing the ad performance. Now, just because I'm a math wizard and I want to bore you to death in this tutorial, I want to actually teach you guys how to calculate a 20% profit margin, for instance, because that's typically what we aim for in the e-commerce industry. And it's great to know, yeah, how do I break even? I think that's a really easy metric to calculate because, yeah, you just do your sale price minus your COGS. But in order to do a 20% profit margin, all you really have to do is calculate, all right, what is 20% of my AOV? And then you would subtract that from your break-even CPA, which I know it sounds complicated when I'm just saying it as words, but let me show you an example. So let's say, for instance, I'm selling a product that costs $50 and then it costs me, let's say, $20. So I know my break-even CPA is 30. If I get any cost per purchases under that, then I am profitable. But what CPA goal do I need to get to achieve 20% profit margin? Well, I would take 20% of my AOV, which is $50. That is typically how much I sell my product for. Now, your AOV might be a little bit higher. If you're running an e-commerce brand, it might be $100, it might be $150. But I typically like to get how much are people usually spending on my website. I get 20% of that number and then subtract it by my break even. So let's say it's 50, for instance. So 20% of that is $10. So we would just do 30 minus 10, just like that. And then we know $20 would be my 20% profit margin CPA. So if I get cost per purchases below $20, I know, all right, I'm at a 20% margin or greater. And if you're still living under a rock and you're using ROAS as your major thing, which, I mean, there's so many issues with that I don't want to begin, you would just have to do something like 50, so your AOV, whatever you're selling your product at, and then you divide it by that 20% profit CPA. So we know in this instance it was 20, so it would just be this. So 2.5 would be how I get to 20% profit. So now let's get down to business, because I know you're not here just to watch me calculate numbers. You're here for the testing strategy. Everyone's here. It's like a zoo. You're always there for the giraffes. And you see this neck? You got him, all right? So when we do my testing strategy, it's pretty simple. So you would go to your dashboard, you would click on set up a new campaign. And because I love hand feeding you, I will literally click and show you exactly where that is. So you click the giant create button, then you are gonna click on website conversion. Now, personally for me, just because I don't know, I like making money, I tend to do purchases as my conversion event. You can do link clicks if you hate making money, you know, it's up to you, but we're gonna do custom mode, go to website conversions, and then when it comes to the campaign name, I will name it usually the name of the product that we're selling. So for this tutorial, I'm going to do the mushy. You will see what that product is a little bit later. Don't get any suggestive, provocative ideas in your head. Now, I like to do my 20% break-even CPA, that 20% margin CPA. So let's say, for instance, that is a CPA of $20. So we'd go into here and continue. Now, from here, for pixel, we would select the pixel we already created. So we do this one right here, and then we would do complete payment. Now, in terms of placements, we're still going to do TikTok only. There's not going to be anything new here. Now, when it comes to user comment, I would recommend leaving this on. This is a change because I've noticed when you have an engaging ad that is getting a lot of comments, it is becoming more like Facebook, where TikTok will get you lower CPM. So I would highly recommend having an engaging ad, have a controversial hook. It could be, my stepsister gave me the mushy last night, and boy, oh boy, did it change my life. And then everyone's like, well, yeah, what the hell is the mushy? I don't know. You'll see a little bit later on. But yes, I would recommend having user comment turned on. You can actually check where your comments are just by going to assets and comments. So if you are really just like, yeah, I don't know about the comment section. Maybe I want to monitor and delete comments that will have people talking crap about my product, then yes, you can monitor that. And then when we scrolling down ACO, that used to be a bit of a fad, I would say a couple months ago. I mean, we're somewhat playing around with it when we are scaling. I wouldn't recommend it for testing. And again, this is all my personal opinion. You can play around with these things. As a media buyer, honestly, I think it's really negative to just look at a tutorial and then copy exactly what you're learning. A lot of the times, the best media buyers are always constantly testing. And just to show you an example, this is one of my ad accounts right here where we scaled this brand to $1,000 a day. And look at all the different things we're doing. We're doing ABO duplication. We are doing bid caps. We are doing USA only. We're doing so many different creatives. We're doing day parting at different times. When you're a media buyer, your job honestly is more of a scientist. You are split testing a lot of different ideas to see what works the best, because what works the best on one ad account will not transfer over to all ad accounts. So I might tell you, hey, in my experience, broad has always worked super well for me. And then when you go out and test broad, it'll suck for you. So maybe it makes sense for you to test just testing interest. And I have seen on some ad accounts, interest will work better than broad. It's all about playing around with things. If you're noticing whatever you're testing initially isn't working, play around with things. Don't just say, okay, let me stick with the same testing strategy for the next 100 years, because that's not how TikTok works. Now, in terms of countries, I like to do the big four as of right now. So I like to do United States, Canada, Australia, and then United Kingdom. So if you don't have access to those big four countries, so let's say, for instance, you're on a noob ad account, which is actually the one I'm on right now, you can see when I look up United Kingdom, it is not available. And that's because I'm not on an agency ad account. So I'll give you one last shot. If you want to get the agency ad account, hey, it's down below. It's technically free. It's just 3% of your ad spend. So you spend $100, that's $3. And honestly, that's a steal. But just to show you, this is what an agency ad account will look like. So you'd get United Kingdom, you can do Australia and target those bloody Aussies. And frick me dead, we got Australia right there. It's absolutely beautiful. So I would recommend the agency account. Again, I'm going to stop plugging it. You get the gist. Now, in terms of gender, languages, I really don't play around with that. I mean, gender, I might play around if the product is obviously specific for a specific gender, because I don't want to waste my ad spend. Ages, I really rarely ever play around with that stuff. Again, you have to do the research. So there might be a security product you're selling, which yes, it is only for 35 and above. I typically, though, like to go in the option of let's go broad and then react to the data. Let's see what the data is saying. And after a few days of running ads, if we do notice, okay, it is definitely performing really well for older demographics or younger demographics, then yes, let us get into narrowing down to just those age groups. Household income. I have not really played around too much with that, so I'm not going to really just tell you anything until I do. And then when it comes to interest, I still believe in broad. I really do. That is just what's working the most on the majority of ad accounts that we manage. And as you can see, it's quite a lot, but again, this is something where you should be playing around. It might make the most sense for you to, let's say, do 5 ad groups when you're starting out, and then maybe 3 of those are broad, and then 2 of them have interest. Again, you should play around. I am just a random guy on the internet who is just telling you my experience. I am not the foremost expert. That's not the Bible here of the 10 Commandments. So personally, though, for me, I like to do 5 ad groups that are identical, that are broad, because again, your ads are still going to be shown to different audiences. Broad is a lot of people. It's 100 million people. So just because all your ad groups are broad doesn't mean they're going to be marketed to the same people, which is a common misconception. And then in terms of daily budget, I like to do $25. I notice with $20, that tends to have spending issues. So I like to raise my bid a little bit to $25 a day. Then getting to the rest of the things, I do like to schedule my ads for the next day. I typically like to do these at about 7 in the morning. It's up to you. Sometimes you can do midnight. I don't think it plays around and messes up things too much. And then for day parting, I do all day when I initially test. And then for conversion, I do lowest cost to start. I would say though, you can obviously get into cost caps, bid caps, stuff like that a little bit later on when you are scaling to figure out, okay, what bid works the best. But that's for a little bit further in the video. So now we're into the ad creation screen. Now, the first part might seem very minute, very innocuous, but a lot of people have been split testing custom identities. Now, personally, because I'm a good boy, I'm a square, I don't like to really push the rules. I like to just do my business name and then my logo, as you can see right there. But what some people will do, and I'm not saying that I do this, and anybody that's watching this FBI TikTok headquarters, but what some people do, and believe me, I hate that they do it. It's honestly disgusting, is they will put a celebrity's name or they'll put another business. And I actually do really don't recommend that. Sometimes I will, though, put my name. I literally will just put my name and then put a picture of myself, because then it feels native to TikTok. But some people will do something like Miley Cyrus or a celebrity so that it's like, holy crap, is this really them? And hey, if you want to feel like Adam Levine for a day or see what your conversion rate is when you are Adam Levine, then it's up to you. Personally, I don't want to play that game. I think it's a little too risky, but some people do. Now, when it comes to obviously uploading your ads, it's a pretty simple process. You just click on upload and then you just grab whatever ads you have. So For me, I always like to do 3 ads. I've tested 5, I've tested 6. 3 seems to be that happy number for me. So you just click on upload and then TikTok will upload all 3 creatives to the audience that you're marketing to. And then the final thing is really just getting your URL. So for me, I will always do my product page. So got my URL copied, ready to go. Now for call to action button, I mean, this is really nerding out if you do split test this. I'm just going to do standard shop now. I like to keep it simple. And then for captions, I usually will do the main headline for my product page. So if I go to AudioBlade right here, the best sound at the best price, I'll usually do something like that, or a sale. So I might say 40% off sale and soon. So it's up to you if you want to do urgency or a benefit. Again, that's something you would definitely want to recommend split testing. I know I sound like an old geezer here. You just gotta split test everything. You never know what's gonna work. So I put in a little custom identity here. Now, when it comes to the creative name, you obviously need to have a very complex naming system that allows you to know immediately what type of ad format, what kind of angle that you use for the ad that you use. So my professional scientific method, in fact, if you share this with anyone else, I'll have to sue you. It's this right here. Ad 1, ad 2, and ad 3. And I know what you're thinking. I can't possibly do a naming system that complicated. But you know what? That's just where the pros really separate themselves. Now, the final thing you do is if you have any UTM parameters, UTM URLs. So if you're using, let's say high roast, for instance, you would just paste it right here into the impression tracking URL. And then boom, sorry, I got a little bit ahead of myself there. You got to make sure the URL and the text is obviously in the other ads. And typically when you click on duplicate after uploading one ad, it does duplicate the URL and the text. But in this case, you know what? I'm a dummy. Can't believe I'm actually making a tutorial on this. It blows my mind. And the fact you're watching it too. Jeez Louise. Not going to lie, you must be pretty bored on a Monday afternoon. But getting into the rest of it. So once you have your ad group right here, we're going to click on copy and then do 4 copies just like that. So we're going to have 4 identical copies, and each one of these, it's up to you what you want to do. Again, you can split test doing a mixture of interest versus no interest. You could split test countries. So you might have one that's United States versus doing big 4. There's so many different things you can split test. Personally though, if you're wondering what I do, I literally just do 5 ad groups that are exactly the same. But obviously you want to make sure everything's good. So I got complete payment. And then when we scroll on down, when it comes to this is the really important thing. When you do click duplicate, it will run immediately as soon as you upload. As you can see, filming this way past my bedtime. So we're going to do 7 o'clock just like that on the dime. And today is the 29th, so that'll work just swell. And then after that, we just click on submit and we will have our 5 ad groups, $25 a day, all ready to go. We have the right columns and those 3 ads will duplicate into each one of those audiences. So that is how I personally like to test any product. Now, my big caveat though with my testing method is I do test products for at least 2 days. So depending on your budget, you might not have $250 to initially test a product for 2 days like that. And you might have, let's say, only $100 to test a product. So in that instance, you can do a CBO with 5 ad groups, literally copying exactly how I did it, but you're just not doing ABO, which is setting the budget at the ad set level. So to set up a quick CBO, we click on website conversions, scrolling down here, obviously name your campaign. For now, we're just not going to do that because you just need to follow this step. Campaign budget optimization, and then daily, $50. 5 ad groups. You do the exact same setup. That is the only difference. And then you let that run for 2 days, look at the data. And then from there, we'll see if we have any ad groups that are profitable that we can start scaling. And hold on, Buster, I can hear you barking already, drooling to hear the scaling strategies. But before we do that, I would also recommend understanding how do you test new creatives, because on TikTok, the big thing with it is that it does eat creatives for breakfast. A good strategy is always to be testing a new ad every single week. So what I would recommend doing when you're testing new ads, let's say you made 5 new ads, I would do honestly the exact same structure that we just did of doing 5 separate ad groups that are pretty much identical in every single way. And you might do that broad, or if you already have data on what's working, let's say I have an interest ad group that's working extremely well. It could be nature. What I would do is I would create a new campaign, 5 ad groups that are all identical. They have the interest of nature. And then when it comes to the ad, I give each ad group 1 new ad creative. So if I'm testing 5 new ads, then I will have 5 ad groups, each of them with 1 of those new 5 creatives. So again, it's really simple. You do website conversions. You would just name this a sandbox campaign or a creative testing campaign, whatever you want to call it. And that's pretty much the major campaigns I like to have. I like to have my major scaling campaign, my testing campaign, and then my sandbox campaign for testing new creatives. So this would be my testing new creatives. And then again, you just go through the process of making your ad group and then uploading 1 ad into this one, duplicating that ad group 4 times, and then you would delete that ad that had been duplicated so that you can put a new ad in each one of those ad groups. So if that's too complicated for you, basically ad group 1 would have new ad 1, ad group 2 would have new ad 2, ad group 3 would have new ad 3. I think you understand. But based on that, what you would do after a few days of looking at the data is seeing, okay, which ad group performed the best? And if you know, all right, let's say ad group 3 with ad 3 performed the best. All right, let's graduate ad 3 into our major campaign. So you'll already have your initial testing campaign, which will probably have that nature ad group scaling. So when you're noticing, all right, my nature ad group that's been scaling for a while is starting to die down, let me put ad 3 into the mix so that I can keep things rolling, because that ad group has already gotten a ton of data. It's already well optimized. And if you're wondering, how does that look? So let's say, for instance, this is the ad group that's working really well for me. So what I would do, it's really simple. I would just delete the ads that are not performing really well. So I just click on delete, pause, really doesn't matter. And then all we would do is just create a new ad. So it's that simple. Just turn off the ads that aren't performing any well for you. And then you would upload that ad 3 that is now performing really well in that sandbox campaign and add it to your best performing ad group. Alrighty, chicos, ven aquí. So we need to get into scaling. And I like to keep it really simple in the beginning with my testing campaign. So let's say, for instance, you're testing a product for 2-3 days. It's working pretty well for you where you have some audiences that are profitable. What is the next steps? Well, for me, I like to duplicate my winning ad groups. So when I look at this campaign right here, I can see clearly I had duplicated this ad group a bunch of times. This one was working really well for me and it was working in another campaign. So when I have an ad group working well, I just basically duplicate it sometimes 5 times into a new campaign at a higher budget. So let's say I'm starting at $25 a day. It's working really well for me. And let's say again, it's the water bottle ad group. So I will duplicate the water bottle ad group 5 times into a new campaign, and I might do $40 a day with each ad set. So as we can see right here, look at all these duplicates. These are pretty much all the same right here. This is duplicate 10, 9, 8, and that is the easiest way of scaling. You just see what's already working. So, hey, look at the data. This one's got a $9 complete payment. All right, what I'm going to do, click on copy. We'll make 5 copies. You can make 10 copies. Again, the number really doesn't matter. And then we just do a new campaign and we do ABO scaling duplicates. You can name this however you want. And all we would do is just click on copy like that. And then you would set that new budget. So we click on continue. Right now, I know it's going to be at most likely 20, 25. And then, yeah, let's do something like 40. You can do 50. It's up to you. Maybe you do the same exact budget, but again, you're still spending more money because now there's 5 more duplicates. Now, I do sometimes get questions about that, even though it's really simple, of should I turn off my original ad set? Listen here, buddy. People literally die. They sacrifice every single morsel of their time and attention. They still live with their parents so that they can eventually have a profitable ad group they can scale. So when you get to that point and you have that luxury, don't be the idiot that says, should I turn it off? Should I turn off the money printer that's literally making me money right now? I mean, do I gotta slap some sense into you? I mean, do I gotta turn into Andrew Tate? Because no, you obviously don't turn it off. It's a money printer. It's like Hustlers University. So no, we're not gonna turn that off. So you just have the original on along with the new one. Now, the other way you can scale, I know that one's really, really simple. Just duplicate what's working. The next one, which I know people get a little bit excited, is doing a bid cap optimization event. So this is how you set up a scaling bid cap campaign. Now, I would highly recommend just testing one audience, your most profitable one. If it's doing broad, all right, let's just set up then broad. So I'll do typically 1 new campaign, 5 ad groups, and I'll test 5 new bids. Now, if you got the money like that, you can test 10 new ad groups and 10 new bids, because it really is about first getting what is the dollar amount which optimizes the best with TikTok. So let's say, for instance, I'm selling this water bottle. My break even is $20. I typically will do bids around that break even profit. So I'll do something, let's say, we're setting this up, we're doing, typically I like to do ABO. So we'll just go into this, we'll name it bid testing. And then obviously you're going to set up your ad group, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. And then we're going to make sure we're still in conversion. Do not make the mistake of doing click and then bid cap. We want to do conversion, then do a cost cap. I know they're very similar. I don't know why they're that similar. So we're going to get into it. I first like to do a $20 bid, $0.33. Don't ask me why. That just seems to be what gets TikTok to spend the most, because honestly, the biggest problem you typically have with bids is just getting TikTok to spend your whole budget. So you might have a budget on this ad group of, let's say, $25. Sometimes TikTok will spend $2, $3. It really depends on whatever your bid is to see if TikTok actually does spend. Now it's saying $1, don't listen to TikTok. TikTok's stupid. So you'll do $20.33 in one ad group, and then the next one we would do 21. We would do then another one at 22, then 23. Then you might do some that are lower. You might do $19. You might do $18. And that's pretty much exactly what I did in this campaign right here. You can see I did $11.33, $10.33, $9.33, $8.33. Again, I was playing around with a lot of different bids, and then eventually I figured out, oh, $15 is what was working the best, and that was still below my break-even purchase price. So I was like, yeah, I'm cool with that. And then from there, you're just going to play around with the cent. So for me, I like to then do 10 different ad groups. I know, okay, 15.30, that's typically the range. So let me do a bid at 15.30, 15.31, 15.32, and each one of those is different ad groups. So I'll have one ad group at 15.30, the next ad group at 15.31, and it keeps on going on till 15.39. So we'd have 10 different ad groups from there. So we'd see right here, I got my 30s, my 29s, my 33s, and then really from there, you can notice, yeah, some of these don't really spend at all, and that does tend to happen, but eventually you will get the bid that does work the best for you, and then you'll scale just that bid. So let's say 15.30 is that magical number. All right, from there, let's do 5 ad groups, $50 a day, just do that bid. And then you would just go through the same process of duplicating it. So using both of those scaling methods we just learned. Now, another smart way of scaling is obviously looking at your data. What is the data telling you? So for instance, let's go to this campaign right here, and we're going to go to view data, and we're going to see where are our conversions coming from. Now, this will depend. Sometimes TikTok will report this data, sometimes it doesn't, but let's just go over to our audience, and we are going to go to conversion. So from here, we can get the breakdown. All right, age, we can see younger demographic is definitely the one buying the majority of these. So I think this was 26 purchases in this campaign, and we can see 18 to 24 is the majority. We got some older ones, but yeah, it's pretty much the majority is younger audience. So when I am setting up my scaling, let's say I have that winning ad group and it's just broad, it might make sense to duplicate. We'll do 5 new ad groups into a new campaign, and then we just do 18 to 24, and we see how that performs. So we can start narrowing down based on the data. And then obviously there's other things, so we can see gender, and all right, it's pretty much dead even. So for that one, I would say, all right, let's not narrow down. It's too inconclusive to really come up with anything. Then we can get a breakdown by country and region. But for this, obviously, I just did United States. But if you are doing the big 4, then you can start split testing and then narrowing down into certain countries. Now, another way you can scale once you have some winning ad groups is doing day parting. Now, this still does work for me. So let's say, for instance, I got that winning ad group. I'll typically, again, do 5 ad groups or 10 ad groups. You're probably noticing a bit of a trend. So we do 5 ad groups. I usually will do, again, the same budget of $25 a day, and then I'll do some day parting. Now, day parting is pretty simple to set up. You just go into select specific time, and for me, typically, I will do the window of 7 to 11. So just like that, and then based off of that, you can sometimes see, yeah, what are my best hours? So literally, just look at your Shopify store, go to your analytics, and see at what time are we making the most sales. I know this is a dead store, it's just for template, but then based off that data, you can see, oh, okay, 7 to 9 a.m. is what's working best for me. So then, hey, let's just consider doing only 7 to 9, just like that. So super simple, super easy to do. Now, another pretty cool way of scaling up is doing Spark ads. So doing Spark ads, it's pretty simple. You just set up your normal ad groups. Let's say I want to do 5 ad groups, all broad. And then when we go to the ads section, we're going to use TikTok account to deliver Spark ads. And then you just click the link account button and it will ask you to log into your normal TikTok account. So just like that, we can see Ethan Dobbins 4 authorized, and then it will show up like a normal user is posting this ad. So again, it's another way of Trojan horsing your ad. A lot of people have seen great success with Spark ads, and you can also get authorizations to other big accounts to run ads from their account as well. Now, because this is not a business account, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but typically after you create your account or connect your account, then it will give you an option of, yes, which TikTok post you can turn into an ad that you have already posted. So that way you can get more engagement to your account, and it's also a nice way of scaling. So just to show you a quick instance, I got my Mary Slides account. Again, Christmas slides, you've probably seen these. Then we can go to TikTok posts just like this, click on our ad that we want to use to really publish and get more traffic. Got the URL ready to go, and then we click on save, and that is how you scale using Spark ads. So you would just basically upload your ads onto your TikTok account, and you can get a ton of engagement, more followers that way, and also it's a nice thing to split test. And I would say the final thing you do, even though I've given you 100,000 ways to skin a cat here, is doing a CBO when scaling. So you can set up a CBO where you have, again, 5 ad groups, 10 ad groups, whatever you have of your performing ad groups. And then you just do the CBO budget of $100 a day with your best performing creative. And that's a big thing. When you are doing any of these methods, I would highly recommend identify what's your winning creative and just mainly use that. And then mix in other winning creatives that you find from your sandbox creative testing campaign. So with the CBO, again, you do $100 a day, 5 ad groups. And if it's working really well, then okay, let's raise the budget the next day from 100 to 140, and then 140 to 200, then 200 to 300. So that's how I would recommend scaling. You can also say, all right, that CBO performed really well. Let me duplicate that campaign, which really isn't an option. You can't just duplicate a campaign like you can at Facebook, but you would just say, all right, let me copy, make the exact same campaign again, but this time raise the budget. So those are all the ways you need to know of how to scale, how to test products. Again, it's a lot of split testing. If that's the major idea I want to get across to you, being a media buyer is never following one system. You always have to keep split testing because every ad account is different. Every product is different. And if you want to scale, you have to be able to adapt.